Hello everyone, welcome to Friday Analytics. Today we are going to master the 6 essential SQL queries in just 15 minutes. So by the end of this video, you'll be writing SQL queries like a pro. So this is what we are going to cover in this session. Number one, we are going to cover clause number one, which is select, used when choosing data. Clause number two, which is from, used when picking tables. Clause number three, which is where, used when filtering rows. Number four is group by, mostly used when you want to aggregate your data. And then the having clause, which is mostly used when filtering groups. And the last one, which is order by, most used when you are sorting your results or your data in either ascending or descending orders. These are the big 6 SQL clauses that we're going to cover. In this case, we're going to do this practically. So we are going to use a real-time data set to practice. So let's dive in. So from here, I'll be going direct into what we call my database, which I use, which is a PostgreSQL database. In this case, I'll be clicking on this part, which you see here. It's supposed to show me the databases that I have in my case. As I can see, I have created 3 databases. So I'll be using the topmost database in my databases, which is 2025 data. So this is where I'll be storing the data that I want to use. So what I'm going to do, I'll be expanding this button. I'll be going to schemas. So at the schema, I'm supposed to get to tables in this case. So under the tables now, this is where I'm supposed to create a table, and then in the table I import the data that I've already talked about, which is customer dataset. So this is the dataset that we're going to use in this case to practice. Is a customer dataset, a real-time dataset. So what we're supposed to understand in this case, we have 9 columns in this data: ID, first name, last name, address, state, city, email, phone number, and gender. And in terms of what I call them, the loads, we have allowed 100. So it's a good data to practice. It's a small data, but it's a good one to practice in this case. So we'll be calling out the big 6 SQL clauses using this data and try to see if we can understand them in this case. So I'll be moving back to the database that I'm using. I'm supposed to create a table in this case. So what I'm supposed to do in order for me to create a table, I have written a query. You can use a manual way, but also you can write a query. So in my case, I have written a query that it will help me import the data that I have already displayed. How to do this? You just right click on table, you come here, in this case you say write a query in this case. So the PG admin should open a query editor where I'm supposed to write now my queries, in this case under that table. So what I'm supposed to do, I've written some code I've already prepared for this. So this is the command that we'll be using in this case to export the data. Let me just copy it. I'll explain. So I'll be providing these resources after this. So this is my command that I'm using in this case to create a table. So create a table. The table name is customers. You have seen from the data is customers data. So what follows is now the type of data that I have under those columns. We have 9 columns. You have ID, first name, last name, as I've already mentioned. But now you have to understand the type of data in that case. So that's something that you need to just learn on yourself and do some research. So after this, what I'm supposed to do is to execute this or to rerun it. So just execute the code. The query returns successfully, so everything is okay. So now what means, I have created a table called customers, and this table has all these columns. We go back to our database. You click here, you go back to our database where you have the tables. You can see you need to refresh in this case to detect if there is any table created under this part. So you see table 1, we have created table 1. The table name is customers. So when I expand on customers, you're supposed to see columns. As mentioned, we have 9 columns. So these are the columns now that will carry or hold our data. The next step that follows in this case is now to import our data set, in this case to this table. So what I'm supposed to do is to right click on customers table, then you choose import data, just simple like that. So after this, I have a video which shows how to import data from desktop to a database, to PG admin database in this case. So what you're supposed to do is you come to here where you have the file name. You can just click on this part. You're supposed now to go to part where you have stored your data. For example, in my case, this is at the desktop, Ruben. So in this case, we go to video 4, it's customers data, then I open. So the other option, you can just copy the path to the data and then you paste it here. So that is the first step. The other thing is the data is a CSV. That's something that you are supposed to note. So the second thing that you're supposed to do is to go to options. So options, you make sure that the header is ticked, because our data has headers, as you can see, ID, first name and last names, those kinds of headers. Then it is a CSV, it must be having a delimiter in this case. Then from that you confirm on columns. These are the columns that you want to input your data to, and then you click OK. So you just have to wait for this one to see what will be the execution page. As you can see, the process has completed and everything is okay. So after this, I would like just to ask you, don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel, and also like. You can also comment in case of a question, don't hesitate to ask. So let us proceed to the next step. So what I need is to come here, I refresh also this one to make sure that the data is in that table. So from here, we are going to move now to our database. Now we need to understand the 6 essential SQL clauses under 15 minutes. So we have now like 10 minutes to do this. So what I'm supposed to do is to come to customers table, I right click on it, then write queries. So I have to open another query editor where now I'll be writing queries to deal with that data. So for this one, I have a structure of what I want to do. I had already prepared for these. So I just be copying these and then pasting in my query editor. So it is like that. So the first part you've already mentioned about it, forget about it. So what you're going to cover in this case, we'll be covering the 6 SQL clauses. Number one is select, from, where, group by, having, and order by. In this case, I've already mentioned what they mean. So we'll start with select and then we combine it with from. So what do we mean when we talk about select? We say the select clause, pick which columns we want in this case. So I will be writing a simple query in this case. So I've also mentioned in the previous videos on how to comment in the query editor. So but in this case, I'll be using select. So mostly we say select is for choosing. We use it when we want to choose column we're interested with in the data. So in this case, we'll be writing this query. So like select, we want to select, for example, we'll be selecting the first name as the name appears in the data that we have already imported. We have first name, also we have what we call the emails. We have the email, then we're picking them from where? We're picking them from customers. This is the table that we have created that is like storing our data. So after that, you just click F5. So let me expand this one so that for you to see the execution. So as you can see in this case, we've managed to select 2 columns, the first name and email. We're able to see the result here at the bottom. So in this case, for example, if for example the marketing department wanted this data, for example, to do some kind of targeting, so this is how you could have managed to extract that data from your database, and then you can download this data here, and also you can share with your team. So that's how we use the select in this case. So also we can use something else under this case to select the data that you want or the columns you're interested with. So we can also use asterisk for this case. So this is the asterisk, mostly means all. It used to mean all. For example, we can say select all, meaning we are picking all the column from, sorry, let me just use in caps, from customers. What it means in this case, you want to pick everything from that database, and then you click F5, you wait for this. So this is the data that I've already shown in Excel, but in this case now is in database. So what we're able to see, these are the 9 columns that we had in this case, and in terms of observation, there were 100 observation in this case. So we are done with the select and also now from in this case. So from means tells SQL which table to use. So we're picking it from customers table. That's why we use from. The second SQL clause is where. So where filters 0 based on condition. So in this case, you have to to give a condition. You want to pick some data from customers, but now where, for example, where the state is Texas, where gender is male, where age is 30 and above, something like that. So we are going to practice this one. So we are going to do it simply. We're going to pick it simply. For example, we'll be selecting all. We want to select all from customers. So maybe you can enter the next line from customers. Then go to the next line. We say where. In this case is gender. We want to pick in case where gender will be equals to what we are calling the female. In this case, we're going to start with the capital letter. In this case, where gender is female, so you can just call this one to see, yeah, to start with caps, where gender is female and then a semicolon. So in this case, I click F5 to see, you will be able to see the results. So in this case, the data that we are seeing here, this data is just for females. So what you can do, we can just download this data and we try to view it. For example, this is the data. I just open it. So let me open the data. We see if this data has only female customers in this case. So this is the data, and as we're able to see, the data gender is just for females. So great. Now we are going to proceed with the third clause, which is group by. Group by is used when you want to combine loads into groups. So here we count customers per state. In this case, we use count. In this case, when you want to, in this case, to use group by. For example, I will be writing a simple query. In this case, if you select, let me selecting gender again. We want to group by gender, so we'll be using count. We say we have to combine it with count. I'll be counting all. Then I'm counting all to the next line from. So from, in this case, is from customers. We don't have at the table. In this case, we're going to group by. We group by what? We are going to group by gender in this case. We're going to group by gender. So in this case, what we'll be seeing in this case, if we have males, female, and maybe other gender, they will be grouped and be counted. Like male, we have 20, female, we have 17. I click F5 to see the result in this case. Oh, good, as we can see it. So we have female, they are 17, so male, they are 82. So the dominant group in this case is what we are calling the males. And also we can visualize this, as I mentioned the other time. So it is possible to visualize the data in this. For example, in this case, I will be using a bar chart, something like that. On x-axis, I can use what you're calling the gender. On the y-axis, I use what you're calling the count, and then I can generate the plot. So I have to make sure these to enlarge it to make it fit in these keys. So as we're able to see, we have males, we have females at the male, as we're able to see in terms of count. But the best thing to do is this case will be to maybe after this, you can download the data and visualize it using your best tool, or even you can maybe connect this data with Power BI or even Tableau to create some kind of visualization, because this is not a tool for visualization. This is used for data analysis. So the next clause is having. So having filtered groups is mostly used to filter groups when you want to filter your data into various groups. So here we find the state, like for example, we can define. In this case, we are going to define, we're going to add a condition, like where we'll be filtering by groups. But now we decide to use another condition, like having a count of maybe more than 3 or even less than 4. So in this case, we'll call this using an example. So for example, we are going to select. So sorry, we're going to select. We'll be selecting gender. Then we count. Don't forget to use count, because we are counting everything. In this case, from where? From customers. This is our table. So this is our data is. So customers, we move to the next line. We are going to group by. So they go together. So when you use group by, you have to use. You can now proceed next to use what they're calling the having clause. Now in this case, you cannot choose the having clause without group by. In this case, so having. Then count, we're going to count in this case all, but now we specify a condition. We have already seen that the total number of females we have is 17, the total number of males is 82. So we can say where we have less than 20 in this case. So less than 20, we'll be expecting to see just the result for females in this case, according to me. So this is greater than 20, so we expected to see for males. Sorry for that. But if you want to see for females, use less than, not greater than. I've used greater than. So less than, we're supposed to use now to see for females. So we have female less than such. That's why we use the having clause in this case. So the last part, the second last, is order by. Order by is most used to sort results. For example, we want to sort the data in ascending or descending order. In this case, we're going to do it very simply. In this case, so how we're going to do it, we'll be selecting for example, customers. So we'll be selecting, we can select all. We'll be selecting all from customers. We select all from customers. Then what proceed after this is to order by. We are going to order by what? We are going to order by last name. In this case, we're going to order by last name. We're going to order by last name, but now we are going to order it in ascending order. So we are supposed to see like the last name should start in terms of maybe the top list number name. So in this case, we are going to click F5 the way to see the result. So in this case, if we want to see the result, the last name, as you can see, the last name, they start with B, so meaning there is no one with the name starting with A. So B, as you can see, B, D, they go up to maybe Z. In the case there is someone with the name Z. In this case, that's how we use the order by. Mostly use to sort the data ascending or descending. And also we can maybe copy this one, we create another one here. Now we sort it in descending order. In this case, should be descending, should be, sorry, descending, should be descending order. And then we click F5 again to see the result. So now we're able to see it start with Wilson. So the name of customer in terms of the last digit is Wilson. So we are going to cover the last one, which is a bonus limit, mostly used when you want to restrict how many rows you want to get or you want to see from your data set. For example, in this case, we'll be using deselecting. I just want to select all from customers, and then what I need to add is to limit. I just want to see limit to 3 instead of seeing all the columns in my data. Instead of seeing all observation like rows in my data, I just want to see the top 3 in this case. So just put this on top. You can see these are the top 3 customers, John, Dan, and David. But based on these queries that I've written, I can define queries based on maybe based on city, state, something like that. So these are the big 6 SQL clauses that you need to master, that you need to learn from. So after this, I'm done with the video, but after this I'll be sharing this video for you. I will be sharing the resources, the data, and also the script that I designed in order for you to practice and do the same. As I was doing demonstrating this case, don't forget to subscribe and like my YouTube video in this case. Bye.